Hi, Robert. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, so glad to have you in the Real Talk, man. I introduced you on the good old social media LinkedIn worlds, man. You are all over the place. You are
Uh,
throwing out some knowledge and guidance and information and news, and I'm like, who is this guy? I got to know him, got to talk to him. Just the knowledge and information every day. You're up to date. It's been so fascinating watching your content grow and really informing the world of building awareness of supply chain, semiconductors, the whole industry of electronics, and really what's going on to that world. So that's why I want to bring you on and introduce you a little bit and learn a little bit more about who is Robert Quinn.
right. It was great to meet you. Great to be on with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a little bit of history and background? How did you get here? How did you get to be this content curator and from your background?
Well, I started at Applied Materials, over 20 years ago, working in manufacturing, and I worked my way through manufacturing in the final test, and eventually made my way out into the field as a field service engineer and working on applied materials equipment and other equipment as well. Traveled around, did a lot of installs, de-installs, and a lot of PM work, working on tools and fabs from IBM to Global Foundries and Intel and just about every large fab in the country.
Yeah, well, if you got a wafer, looks like you still have a wafer behind you, a little golden wafer behind you. I can see that's your forte. That's where you play. That's your experience. So, from that, so you were an engineer, obviously, right? You started your background in engineering.
Yeah. So I worked as a field service engineer, working on I specialized in a few different tool sets. I worked on EPI, and I worked on CVD, and I've worked on PVD. So I left the field service engineering area and went to work for Samsung as a senior technician at Samsung, and I worked there for roughly 4 years, and then I decided to go into management in the field of de-installs, working in the area of de-installs and decontamination of equipment, and was an operations manager for a couple of companies there.
Oh, wow. That's insightful. So you learned all the mechanics behind it all the hardware side too, right?
Yeah, it's really exciting working on this equipment. This equipment is just absolutely amazing. It's really interesting working on these tools. They are at the forefront of technology, and what they're doing is really amazing. Everything from atomic layer deposition and striking plasmas and pumping down the vacuums of 10 to the negative 9 nanotorr, which is just 2 clicks from deep space vacuum, and working on this equipment is super exciting.
Oh wow! It's extremely fascinating. So from the hardware and mechanics side, you learned all of those traits and insightfulness, and all the fascinating tools that's out there in the semiconductor industry. And then, to the present day today, how did that last 20 years of that experience lead you to curating content?
So. I've spent a lot of time working on the tools, and I'm passionate and excited about working on semiconductor equipment, and it's just been a passion of mine for a long time. And one of my pastimes as a kind of a geeky thing that I like doing is I like finding good content and information about the semiconductor industry and see where it's going. And it's a big question that a lot of people have nowadays. And there's not a lot of good information out there. So I started posting information on LinkedIn about the semiconductor industry, about a year and a half ago. And it just started becoming its own thing. I started receiving phone calls from directors and senior level people, and people saying, "Hey, I love your content. Really appreciate everything that you've been posting." And it just grew. And next thing I knew, I had this platform on LinkedIn that had grown to the size that it is at 18,000 right now.
Oh, that's fascinating. Because as I said, that's how you caught my attention, just like the others that have contacted you. Caught my attention through the data and information because it's real time. And I agree. There is a lot of mediums for information for semiconductor industry, but they're spread out. Between the supply chain side, engineering, and I would say there's probably a good dozen of them, but a lot of them are spreading the same content that they use or just curating a different way, and they take time. They're not real time, right? News comes out right now; it's real time because social media has completely changed the times, the launch times between a news story and it's like instantly launched. The Twitters and all the social Facebook, like you just instant something happens, a decision is made in an industry, and it's live. So for us, it's like a week or 2 weeks late. Sometimes it's a little too late because everybody's that's old news, right? Already old news. A lot changes now, as we know from the pandemic side in this news cycle, right?
Yeah.
So you're so up to date, and that's one thing that really I see how you quantified that with some of the results. So you got into it. Let's take the little story back. So you got into curating content. Was it just something that interested you from the news angle? You thought that I want to create a medium of a news channel. What was your vision?
Literally just to post information about the industry. It just started. I started posting more information, and the more information I posted, the more replies I received, and the more feedback I started getting from other people that were connected to me. And then I started adding a lot more connections. And there was one point I was adding almost 100 connections a day of people that were looking to connect with me to be able to see my content that I was posting. And it kind of grew on its own, and it became a how can I curate this content and post this content to everybody else to be able to see, because we're the TikTok society now, right? Nobody wants to open an article and read the whole article. So what I just did is I would just go to the article, I would read the whole article, and I would find the best information that the article had to say. Everybody knows there's a shortage right now of computer chips. Like, I mean, the article will go into like 3 paragraphs talking about a shortage. Well, I don't need to add that to the content of my post because everybody already knows that. So, I find the juiciest and greatest information of that article, and I put that into the post that I put out so everybody can read and basically get a cliff note of the article and about what's going on without having to spend a lot of time, digging into it and finding out all that information.
The instant gratification. I mean, you nailed it. It is. We are the new industry. I mean, we're the X's are our X's millennials, and now the Z's, and then the Y's behind that. All these, they're all born in technology, and it's instant gratification, instant information, instant video clips. This is something that is. It's a little, in our industry, as you say, we're a little resistant to change because, we're full of engineers and the old strategy and the ways and the way they read content. Usually it's through technical documents, technical articles. But the new generation, the way they decompress or decode information is video. Our minds are getting used to video or a quick body, 2-3 sentences and a video explaining it, or a photo or an image that we can reflect. Because again, our eyes can read 10 times, basically 10,000 times faster than we can actually read on grammatically through reading content. So we can picture on the visual aspects. The visual objects are so much more powerful, and videos are so much more powerful for us because we're all kind of have ADD. We live in the ADD time where we don't have time to jump in. That's why clickbait is a big thing now, because people jump into something, read it, they read the headline, and they run away, and they realize what they wrote was not what's in the article. And this stuff does happen, right? But going back to the business side, it's so fascinating of what you created, and you jumped onto something because in an industry that it's not being done so well. It's not being done very well, and we're still at the infancy for the semiconductor industry supply chain, for companies to evolve into what you're doing to share information real time, fast. And that comes to my next question is, how do you do it? How do you get the news? Are you just subscribed to a lot of news channels, or how do you get the content to be able to share?
Yeah, I mean, I am subscribed to quite a few news channels.
Okay.
And I do receive emails from certain companies. They'll try to send out information to me to try to get me to publicize their companies and whatnot. But mostly, it's mostly just looking on the internet and searching through Google search and searching through the filters and filtering the information and trying to find the best content out there and searching it by timelines, and making sure that it's within the latest, greatest information. So, but yeah, it's really not. There's not a special thing to it. It's just
It's not rocket science.
No, just spending time behind the internet and really trying to find the good, juicy information that we can post and that people love to hear and love to know about.
So for someone for a listener, like, what's a question? Like, how long of time does it take for you? Is it a daily routine that you spend maybe a few hours a day reading, taking information in to see what is curated to what to post, or how does that work? How's your day's work?
Well, I have a team behind me now that at first it started out with just me, sitting up on my cell phone until 3:00 in the morning making posts, and now I have a team that's behind me that's actually helping me with everything that we're doing. I not only have do the LinkedIn curation and LinkedIn content, but I also have another business behind it that helps that my employees are able to help me run that part of that platform for me. So,
so is that that other business, is it associated with the marketing side?
Yeah. So we're doing marketing, and we're providing marketing for our viewers and for people that want to connect with us and want us to spotlight their information. Basically, we're taking over people's LinkedIns and we're helping them market organically, grow their LinkedIn pages, and so it's been quite a successful business.
So what you, I mean, as I said, it's like for the next generation, it's like, I know you're trying to curate for TikTok, like bringing the sexy back to the semiconductor industry, and also building awareness. Again, I know we talked about that. Some of your missions are also building awareness for the new generation, bringing people into the industry of really what's happening, and having that demographic of targeting kind of that demographic to get more awareness out there. So what are for people out there, what are your tactics of understanding, like, do you like to do clips? Do you create content, just photos? What is it that really you've seen that works on the LinkedIn or social media feeds that really gets that, as you say, that at the end of the day, it's about the impressions, the amount of people watch something or click on something. What is it you've seen that works on your end?
There's really there really is a psychology behind making the post also. And I'm trying to, in my business, I'm trying to provide the information that is going to be the most meaningful to somebody, but I'm also wanting to I'm trying to drive people to the industry, right? And I want to provide information for people, but I also want to drive people to the industry. Right now, there's a lot of great information, a lot of stuff that's going on in the semiconductor industry. It's we're experiencing a lot of geopolitical issues that are going on right now with the semiconductor industry. TSMC is holding a large basket of the manufacturing right now of wafers and chips at the smaller nodes. And that's a big deal that's going on right now. The United States is pushing billions and billions of dollars into expanding the semiconductor business in the United States. And so are other countries around the world. So,
yeah, I mean, you jumping into that topic from the curation of content, reaching this building awareness, just like that TCMC and everything going on. The geopolitical side is you being in that industry, you having experience for the last 20 years. It is very fascinating what's going on, and and putting, as sometimes, all our eggs in one basket, and then realizing when something happens or politics happen, or countries have disagreements, there's a challenge, like who has more power where it is all is, and we all know Taiwan is the powerhouse. So what are your thoughts of doing of course, the cross allocation, bringing because the two biggest plants, I would say, are probably in Taiwan, Korea, probably are two account for 80% of wafer fabs right now, correct? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts of that, bringing stuff back? Do you think we should bring all 100% back, or do you think we should just have separate allocation in separate different areas and countries to be able to make sure we can have resilience of supply chain?
Supply chain is very important.
Yeah.
Being able to produce high security chips as well is very important.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it's not a very level playing field right now whenever we're talking about the IP issues, the global IP issues. And so the United States is working really hard to make sure that all this is brought back to that is brought back to the United States. And that whenever they say that, they're talking about the large part of cell phone production and 5G chip production and doing the work that the work, bringing back the work that's been outsourced a lot to other countries right now that needs to be done at home for security reasons, for the United States government security reasons, they say. But then there's also chips that will always forever be made in other countries that I think that we'll always need to have an open door policy, I think, with trading in chips, having different countries making chips that we're not making. That'll always be something that we'll have to have an open door policy for.
Yeah, because you're talking about the high volume, the components that are basic transistors or diodes or things or MCUs that are very common, and many different people make them, and it's not really an IP. It's just a power surge or op amp or something that's very simple in that aspect. But when you take a step back, you're saying that's when we get to more complex microprocessing. Of course, like the CPUs, GPUs, going into FPGAs, more sensitive or custom solutions, because of all the ASICs and all the things that come to be. It's what's happening for the future, and I agree. Bringing that, because it is the kind of, you hit some points. There's could be some espionage, people stealing, reverse engineering things and building the wafer fabs, and that is a power now, because I think computing power is right now is data. The way you get data is through computing. So how and that's the race to have the biggest supercomputers and data in the world. But you hit that point, is bringing that stuff back. So right now, from your angle, I know you're sitting now in Austin, Texas, which is it's a big hub, or Texas in general is a big hub for a lot of technology moving there, building. So what do you see right now coming to Texas area, building out? I know you got Tesla there. So who else is coming back there?
Tesla's coming here. Oracle's coming here. Apple's building $1 billion building right down the road from me. There's a lot of growth. SpaceX is here. SpaceX is growing in South Texas as well. And I believe I heard that there's a chance that we might see Boeing moving part of its operation to Austin as well. So there's a lot of growth in Austin, and the real estate market is showing it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, with all those companies coming in, there's lots of jobs coming in, and coming from that. But now for the more of the geopolitical side, from onshoring, offshoring of people moving back. I mean, infrastructure takes time, as we know in the States. We have a lot of regulations, so this does take time. But in the meanwhile, next 1 to 2 to 3 years, while that is a progress to be established, what are your insights? You think what's going on with Taiwan, with China, with Southeast Asia countries, Europe, on the technology range and the Supreme, to understand, where allocation is, where semiconductors are coming from, and why does it keep breaking?
Well, I think we're experiencing a big problem right now with so many of our, like I said, so many of our chips being with TSMC, and so much going on with how we're interacting with China right now. There's a lot of people that are asking, what if China did to Taiwan what it did to Hong Kong? What would happen to our supply chains if that happened, right? There's a lot of questions to be asked about that, and so it's keeping a lot of people on their toes right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I constantly agree. I know because China slowly, silently took over Hong Kong in the last 4 years.
Right.
At Hong Kong. I mean, I know you're wrong. There are positives and negatives. China. I've 20 years. I've been traveling there. It's amazing what they've done. Amazing what they've accomplished. But there's a lot of challenges between the regime and how they're the only there's how they're run and what's going on, and it's just working within compliance. Just following the rules, following the international rules, and following compliance is all I think the global asks. All the companies out there ask of following the rules. It's not being within that, and so we all can grow together, not be adverse, be adverse to each other, and grow together through this marketplace. But like moving forward, the government's coming into play is like how the U.S. government or governments in general in countries are coming to support the innovation of bringing technology back. Really, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think the government should step in? I know this new administration has set up some big goals for technology coming back to the States or building at least your subsidies and things they want to build. So what are your thoughts on that?
There's a big push globally for all countries even India is trying to get into semiconductor right now, and it's all being financed through government, right? China is financing a lot of their semiconductor push. India's financing a lot of theirs, and here we are, this country that has typically said, government stays out of business, and we're the capitalist country, capitalist, type of, infrastructure, and we want to have the government out of business and let the business do what it does. Well, it's not a level playing field anymore. Whenever you have China investing billions, if not trillions of dollars, and other countries around the world, governments investing billions of dollars as well. So I think it's important to make sure that that government needs to come in and make sure that it's a level playing field. And I don't want to say that they need to invest money, because that's it's very political in one way or another. But I want to say that the government needs to be involved, and they need to make sure it's a level playing field. Now, if that means that they're going to invest money, the government's going to invest money into semiconductor, that's one way of doing it. But another way of doing it also is raising import taxes for stuff that's being brought in from other countries, to be able to make it a level playing field for companies that are producing in the United States. We saw that. We all saw that with the solar industry. We saw what happened in the solar industry, where China really just kind of dominated the industry through subsidizing the solar industry, and they just killed it for so many other countries and people around the world that were trying to do it without government support. It's interesting seeing how that works.
Yeah, I think the U.S. lost billions of dollars subsidies they gave to build those plants, which never came back, and that's which I can come back to play. The government, we should have a level playing field, democratize that for all electronic production, and if the governments, as I said, some governments subsidize, and the government subsidize the factories making the products to bring the price down. It's not a level playing field anymore. The innovation could come from one side, the other country takes it, builds it just same quality, but can push the price down 50%. That's the challenge of working with compliance, the global compliance of manufacturing, that we're all working together in this, and evolving the nation, evolving power, because we all win together. This is not a race, we're not an arms race anymore. It's all about technology moving forward for humanity, and the succession of what happens to humanity, living, green life, clean data, digitalization moving forward. So that's very insightful.
I had stepped out of the semiconductor realm for a little bit to go work at a machine shop, and in that time that I was there, we had an order come in from a fab here in Austin. They asked us to make them a chamber liner that would go inside the chambers so they could improve their PM time. And they asked it. The guy I worked for, he owned the machine shop, he owned the machines, and we received a phone call from a guy in China And the guy said, hey, I would love to make something for you. Let me bid something for you. And they said, well, listen, we own the machines, we own the machine shops. There's no way that you could beat our price.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you try. And so we said, fine, here's this project. Can you make these chamber liners for us? He made the chamber liners, put them on our doorstep for cheaper than we could buy the aluminum for.
That's
and that's just the way that it was all subsidized. All the aluminum is subsidized in China, and it was just I was sitting there talking to the owner of the business, and he just about fell out of his chair. He said, "How am I going to stay in business when this is going on? This is crazy." Yeah.
I mean, that's an example of a small business that's been successful, in a certain niche marketplace. And but as I said, at the end of the day, sometimes you take advantage. You go, if this guy's make it cheaper than we do. Sometimes before we lose our business, is to use them as the source and have them do a lot of jobs that are not as technical or needs IP they can handle. And because that at the end of the day, we all need to earn a living and stay in business, and evolve. Because at the end of the day is, the only thing that's certain in life is change. So we got to change, and evolve, and these are things that we need to work together. And it's fascinating, that story especially in electronics, you find it happening more to hundreds or thousands of companies, small companies who are manufacturers. They used to make all the product here, and they ended up finding a contractor in Asia, and they still just brand it for them, and they sell it here. And they're just smaller company. It used to be have hundreds of people. Maybe they have 10 or 20. And it's just import, it's just a branding thing now, but that keeps them in business because they might have design-ins or products that are off brand. At the end of the day, sometimes people want to deal with the brand and they don't want to deal with the foreigner. They rather deal with someone local. And But it keeps them in business. I mean, there's a positive and a negative to it. But the challenge is on items that are so easily manufactured or easily can be reverse engineered or, as you say, copied, done offshore for cheaper price. Everybody at the end of the day is in business to make money. So, it's hard. It's hard to keep your blinders on it as much as we want to stay. But back to your point, we should invest on the high-end technology to keep here. Some of that stuff, just like the consumables and other things, have at it. But we should stay as the gold standards of innovators, innovating, creating technology, keeping that IP here safe, and building those wafers here, building that semiconductors in this area. Maybe it was only 20% of the semiconductor industry, 80% can be done offshore, but that 20% powers some systems that are key to life and key to our internal security of our nation. Yeah,
and so far we have some really good commitments from we have Intel, who's committed to build 2 fabs in the United States, in Arizona. There's TSMC, who's going to build a fab in Arizona as well, and then Samsung is also committed to building a large fab in the United States, another large fab in the United States as well. We're hoping it'll be Austin. But yes, the backing, having the backing of these companies is super important as we continue this race, right? To win this race and this to make sure that we're able to stay dominant in that factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny is we want to say dominant, but we put ourselves in that position. That sometimes we did because we all went fabless.
Yeah.
Because they want to focus on R&D. They focus on R&D, and then they allocate it. Of course, TSMC is, don't get me wrong, they are the pinnacle of excellence of fabs. We all know that, and it's funny, as I read an article today, though, is that the chairman of TSMC, I think, says that he's not certain this is a good idea for US to build the fabs. I mean, I think he's talking about move it all back, but I don't think that's the point of move everything back. But he's like, it's not a great idea because the know-how and the IP that TSMC. But I also think that they're also worried because, hey, we're going to take some of this business back or do it locally, and they don't want to lose that allocation because when they're handling 70% of the fabs in the world, everything comes out of one location. It's dangerous because you can see what's happening in Japan. A lot of these companies in Japan, these semiconductor companies, Renesas just had a fire.
Yeah.
AKM had a fire last year.
Yeah.
And they don't. And it's interesting is they're. I don't know. I'm assuming, but it looks like all their eggs are in one basket. They don't have diverse allocation where if there's a downturn or natural disaster, they can completely switch off and allocate that. Maybe some little bit of downtime, but pick up somewhere else and boost the capacity. it's just a single location.
Yeah, that's where I think it's great that we're diversifying this globally, right? It needs to be. We need to be able to be globally diversified, in the sense that chips are going to become such an important part of our lives in the future, and they already are. But how much more they're going to become an important part of our lives in the future is going to be super important. That we're making sure that we're globally diversified in the sense that. We're making the chips in Europe, we're making the chips in Asia, we're making the chips in North America, and if something, God forbid, if something happens, that the other parts of the world can help sustain that chip production as well. So
yeah, there's all the technology in the world. We should be experts at sustainability, but we're still having breaks, and these breaks happen every 5 years or a decade. We have these supply chain breaks, and it's usually after an economic recession or something happens economically, natural disaster, pandemic. These are things that we all go into, and even with this pandemic coming to the supply chain, I've been through the last 20 years. I mean, this business, this is my blood. My father started as an engineer. I've been in this blood. I've seen it, So, from this, I've been in probably four different shortages or supply chain disruptions, starting from the late 90s of the e-commerce, and then happening in the Great Recession, and then happening like in 2010 again, and then happening in 18 like 21. These are things that it comes and goes, right? And I've seen it, but this one is kind of an anomaly. Why? It's not just because the pandemic has forced everything to digital. And then when everything goes digital, you need components, you need microcontrollers, you need to build this, right? Everything remote, digital, you need laptops, you need peripheral guidance, you need cameras. These things all have processing units in them. So the demand spikes dramatically, right? And then what happens also is automotive when some cars, right? I mean, get me if I'm wrong, the cars used to have maybe in the last 5 years, a couple microprocessors. Today, they have controllers, over 100 controllers in every sensor in that car.
Yeah.
And we're building all these cars, and then all the autos are going to EV. Everything goes EV. There's more electronics needed. There's more circuitry needed. So that's also boosting it. And this EV is not dying. This EV is going to accelerate compared to aerospace, computing, also coming to trucks, trucking system, logistics, robots. So there is so many. You could say, oh, it's just because of the pandemic, but I don't see our trajectory is up. It's not going to equal. There's no level playing field. We're just keep going up because this digital world is going in the supercomputing, data power, data centers, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. What are your perspectives? That's really my assumption that this is going to last forever. We just have to catch up. It's going to take some few years.
Yeah, the growth is exponential, right? I mean, it doesn't stop. And cars not only have more microprocessors in them now, but they're also connected to the internet now. And soon to be almost all Teslas, I'm sure, will soon to be probably be connected to Starlink or something like that. And the Internet of Things is changing everything, because everything from your watch to your cell phone and everything in your car are all going to be connected to the internet. It's going to change our world dramatically.
Smart homes, smart buildings, smart everything. You walk in your house, you come in. I mean, these are things that people like every day. I don't think people understand, like, every day our lives are, can you live without your phone for a day? Can you leave it at home and just say, I'm off?
Right.
Try it.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's like it's like you're lost. Like your life is, because we don't. It's forced us psychologically. I mean, psychologically, like, we don't remember as much phone numbers anymore. Where can we go pick up a payphone to call somebody? Where can we go to do these things? Where can we, transactions, messaging. It's because we're so fast paced. Things are evolving so fast. From when I grew up, we didn't. I think I was a teenager when the beepers came out. And then that was it, then we got the first Motorola cell phones and the whole things, and these are all the things and then going from where we are today, it's extremely fascinating where we see the future. And that's what as I said, coming back to that, is like, I loved that perspective that you were spreading awareness on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, which caught my eye. And
Yeah,
I think you do it's so for that is what really is your, I mean, let's say for the future vision for the Quinn Media Management, what is your future vision like in the next couple of years? What do you think we're going to go? What do you see content marketing going?
Well, COVID obviously, COVID affected a lot of things, and companies are trying to when the companies couldn't fly anymore, when salesmen couldn't fly anymore, and they couldn't make that handshake and have that lunch with anybody, people became frantic, and they didn't realize, they said, how are we going to keep our pipelines filled, our sales funnels filled, and how can we create new contacts and keep the sales going through this COVID situation that we're experiencing. And I was kind of one step ahead in the sense that I had already started my LinkedIn, and I had already started adding thousands of connections to my LinkedIn. And I developed a system that allows me to develop relationships, because LinkedIn is a relationship development tool that is absolutely priceless. I mean, the connections that I have are just unbelievable. From CEOs of the top 2-3 level fabs in the world, to senior directors and everybody around the world that's involved in the semiconductor industry, I'm connected to on a first level basis, and I've had conversations with on DMs through LinkedIn. It's amazing the power of LinkedIn, and how you can develop relationships, and how you can develop with people. And so that's basically what I'm doing with my marketing agency, is that we are showing people how they can develop relationships through LinkedIn, and they're able to keep those relationships going to and then eventually sometimes they turn into sales or something like that. But the statistics say that you have to have 7 to 8 points of contact with a person on the internet before you can 7 to 8 points of contact before you can actually have trust in that person to be able to do business with them. And so LinkedIn is a very powerful tool in that sense, that you can connect with somebody, yes, but do you have trust with that person? Not really. Okay, and as you're seeing that person, posting more information, you feel like you're learning more about that person. And then when that person reaches out to you and says, "Happy birthday, congratulations on the job change, just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year," the person is making those touch points and reaching out to that contact. They eventually feel like they're developing a relationship, and then that relationship usually turns into something bigger and better for the right contacts, right?
Turns into opportunity.
And it turns into opportunity for both of them. And not only is it a good thing for a good thing for the company looking to sell something, but it's also a great opportunity for the company that's looking to buy something as well. There's I have one of my clients is a machine shop, and he may not need the client may not need something machined. He machines semiconductor equipment parts and stuff like that, but his clients may not need something today. But tomorrow, when he's going through his LinkedIn and he said, "Oh man, I've got these 12 parts that need to be made. Who's going to make these parts for me? I have to spend all this time trying to find somebody to do it. Oh yeah, there's this guy on my LinkedIn." And that's where the relationship kind of comes into play. And then he gets in contact with him, he sends him a DM, and he says, "Hey, can I talk to you about having some parts made for me?" And so that's where this relationship building and using LinkedIn is just so powerful, and it's done really well for so many of our clients.
And the best part of it, it's basically free.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's totally organic, right?
It's peanut cost compared to what you cost to have a membership or Premier. It's peanuts.
Yeah. I mean, compared to what you pay per click and all this other SEO marketing and everything like that, this is organic. It's organic, natural, relationship development, and you're putting those people into your business organization and making them a lifetime partner with the business, and you're able to keep that relationship going forever. So it's awesome.
I love it, Robert. You nailed it. You dropped the ball right there. That's exactly what it's about, and I'm so happy that seeing people's success through this, because digitalization is taking advantage of a platform, evolving, changing, seeing what the demand is out there, and also helping guide people. At the end of the day, you are putting you are helping companies brand, you're helping building that and quantifying their results, because not everybody has that skill set to see that vision.
Yeah.
And the CEOs, executives, just sometimes they don't, or they're too busy. So they have companies like yourselves or people to be innovative to do that for them and to show them that perspective and what it leads to bring that content marketing and touch more people, have more touch points.
Yeah. And who knows where the marketing business is going to go, as far as it's expanding right now. We're growing a lot, but I'm also expanding in other realms that I've been asked to attend an event in Vietnam and speak at an event. Working with other companies that have possibly talking about having me speak at CineCon or something like that for them, or attend CineCon for them. But also, I'm looking to get into video and to get this business into bringing attention to the industry and really bringing new people into the industry. We're experiencing so much growth right now, and there's so much of us gray-haired guys, that are with this
trust me, right there with you,
that are in the industry, but there's just not enough new blood in the business. And so I'm really, one of my goals is, as a in this platform that I'm able to hold and kind of is to be able to bring attention to the new generation of this industry, and to really get them excited about this industry. There's really not enough right now. There is a shortage of technicians and engineers coming into this. There's so many people going into software right now because it's such a big boom, but we really need to work hard at pushing, educating people about the business and educating people about what we do. What we do it's amazing. I mean, like these machines are creating vacuums equal to a deep space vacuum and creating plasma, as hot as the surface of the sun. What we're doing is just absolutely amazing, and the environments that we're creating inside these chambers are awesome. We're moving atoms. We're moving atoms with atomic layer deposition equipment, and it's really neat. It's really fun to do, and I want to get the next generation excited about that, and hopefully, being able to make sure that this industry stays strong with that with the these next generation of engineers and technicians that need to come in and learn this business, because us old gray hair guys aren't going to be here forever turning wrenches. So.
Well, hopefully, I don't call ourselves old gray hair. I think we're just at the point of we're in the middle. We're in the middle gap between the old gray hair and the new generation and the boomers, as you would say. But it was fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that information, that insight. I totally agree with you on everything you said, and I think we can work a lot together, because that's one of my missions from the Real Talk, is to spread that awareness, bring the new generation into the supply chain, into engineering and technical, and really show where the hardware and where this innovation is. It's sexy down there. It is innovative. It's fun. It's every day. It's a new thing. It's a new challenge, and it's solving problems. Solving problems, and at the end of the day, it's solving problems that change the world, and that's what we're doing every day. So I really appreciate it. Any final thoughts while we end this up? Any final thoughts you have to share?
I would love. I love the attention that I'm getting. It's really unbelievable. The feedback that I'm getting on my LinkedIn has just been absolutely amazing, and you know the DMs from CEO, from everybody from CEOs uh, to you know just regular old engineers saying, "What are you doing?" Like, wow, thanks so much. I have a funny story that I actually got I got a phone call from a guy from a large fab, and he was a director of legal, and I said, "Oh, great! What did I do? What did I what's going on? How can I help you?" And he said, "I just want to let you know that just your content's worth $1 million to me. Thanks so much for what you do. I appreciate it." And just that feedback that I'm getting from people has just been amazing. I'm it's just my pleasure, and I'm just happy to provide this content and to keep it going. And I really passionate and love this industry. So
Awesome. I love it. Thank you very much for Robert. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for coming on the Real Talk. And I really appreciate it. And I'd love to collab with you more as the news cycles change, as things change, of innovation and growing of your Quinn Media, really what's going on, and to give us the updates on that. So thank you very much for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.
thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Bye.